Friends, have you ever heard the phrase apple of my eye and stopped to wonder to yourself why we use that phrase or where it came from? I hadn't personally really given it much thought until I was doing some research for our reading for today, where Moses uses this phrase, apple of my eye, in Deuteronomy 32. And I looked into the origin of this phrase and what it means, and it's really fascinating. So our reading from today in Deuteronomy 32 is Moses' swan song. Literally, it's his swan song. He is about to die. These are some of his last words to Israel. And he writes and recites this song because God commissioned him back in Deuteronomy 31. I want you to witness against Israel that I know that one day they will betray me and they will leave me and they will reject me and they will create all sorts of brokenness in their wake because they refuse to trust me in my ways. I want them to know that this doesn't surprise me and it will not stop my plans. It will not stop my purposes. And so we see in verse 10 of this swan song from Moses, he says, God found Israel in a desert land. In the howling waste of the wilderness, he encircled him, he cared for him, he kept him as the apple of his eye. The word apple does not actually appear in the Hebrew, which I think is interesting. We add that in our English translations, but the words here in Hebrew are ishon eno, which literally means the little man in his eye, which is a goofy thing to say if you think about it. You are the little man in God's eye. That's what Moses is saying. But the word picture from this Hebrew expression has blown me away because what this means in the Hebrew imagination, this is a figurative way of saying you are so treasured by God. He is so intimately close to you that if you could look in his eyes, you would see a reflection there. Have you ever been that close to somebody that you could see yourself in the pupils of their eyes? Your reflection is there. That is the word picture here, that God treasures Israel so much. He is so intimately close to them. His eyes are so fixed on them that if they looked in his eyes, they are the little man reflected there, which is beautiful. The reason that we read it as apple of my eye is because in Old English, they referred to the pupil of the eye as the apple. They had this funny idea that the pupil was like a round, hard object within your eye that could actually fall out. And because it's shiny, they compared it to the shiny surface of an apple. Like if you polish an apple, you might be able to see a reflection there. And so they take this phrase, ishon eno, the little man in his eye, and say, you are the pupil in God's eye. The word picture is pretty similar, but I love this idea of the ishon eno. And what Moses is going to say in our reading for today is that some of the Israelites will choose to be the apple of God's eye, and some of them will not. He puts it another way and says, you are all God's children. He's your father, but some of you will no longer be his children, not because you mess up, right? Not just because you sin or fail to meet his standards. In Leviticus and Numbers, God consistently provides ways for Israel to experience forgiveness and atonement when they mess up, because he doesn't want their sin to get in the way of this close relationship. So it's not that they're no longer his children because they mess up. It's because they reject him and they say, I don't want to be your child anymore. I don't regard you as my father. Don't think of me as the apple of your eye. I don't want you the way that you want me. which is tragic. And this choice that they make, they choose death, they choose cursing, they choose life apart from God, and they start to sin and leave a trail of brokenness and corruption in their wake. And God has to do something about it. He can't let that go on. And so our reading today ends with a very dark, graphic picture, because God will bring justice on these Israelites who choose corruption and brokenness over him. But what you will see tomorrow is that there is hope for restoration. God is not surprised, and they will not thwart his plans, and so he will make a way for all of us to be restored, so that we may get to experience what it is like to be the Ishone now. And friends, today, as you go out into your day, may God remind you of that intimate closeness he has with you, that you are his Ishone now. You are the little man in his eye. That if you could see God's eyes right now, he is so fixed on you and so close to you, that you would see yourself reflected there. You are the Ishone now, the little man in God's eye. So today, we sit with the judgment that God will bring on those who reject him, and tomorrow we will look forward to the promise of restoration. Friends, enjoy this last week of Deuteronomy. Take care. I'll see you later.